Well, this one has courted controversy since it was announced a few years ago. But how is it as a film? The latest in the very long line of Disney live action remakes of their animated classics is Snow White. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my movie review for Snow White. This comes in the long line of Disney reimaginings of their classic animated movies. They've done everything from Cinderella and Dumbo to The Jungle Book, and even serving up some of the villain backstories of some of their classics. But this is the latest, and it does not come without a lot of controversy. And we'll get into that a little bit. But look, I want to focus mainly in this video on how this movie is on the whole. How effective is it at doing what it wants to do? There are plenty of other videos where you could check out some of the controversy stuff about this movie. We'll touch on it a little, but for the most part, we're going to just talk about the movie. But before we even do that, let me welcome you into Dan Reviews It. If you are new around here, thank you so much for checking this video out. We do movie and TV reviews on the channel, and just about every day I post something new, so always a lot to check out. And with that in mind, please consider subscribing and click that notification bell as well. But look, if you're one of my returning viewers or one of my subscribers already, thank you so much for that. Love when you guys return to check out my stuff. And you can just like this video, comment below. All that stuff, of course, does wonders for the channel. All right, so let's talk briefly about the controversy. Immediately when they announced they were even doing this as a movie, Peter Dinklage, very famous for, Game of Thrones and some other things, and he is a little person actor, was like, hey, why are we still doing movies with dwarves and calling them dwarves, and what are we doing and whatever. So, taking sort of a cue from that, Disney decided to just CGI the dwarves in, which to me I think was one of the dumbest moves that they made with this movie, and we'll get into some of the reasons why in a little bit. But in my mind, look, it's great that Peter Dinklage wants to sort of stand up for this cause from his soapbox, but as one of the very few actors making a living that is a little person, look, he could have encouraged Disney instead to hire 7 little people actors to do these roles. I think that would have been, nice, but instead they decided to go the other way. And then there's the casting of Rachel Zegler as Snow White herself. Look, there's always going to be some racist nonsense, but with Snow White, the character is named that because, her skin is white as snow, whatever. Now, the folks at Disney and the writers of this have changed the backstory a little bit to have it make more sense for Rachel Zegler to be cast in the role. And, it is what it is. I don't think it's the best logic, but Rachel Zegler is by far the best part of this movie. So we'll get into that in a little bit. So, I could never harsh on the casting for that. However, in recent weeks, she's even made comments about how the original's outdated and this and that, which didn't stick so well with some Disney fans either. And then Gal Gadot, who plays the Wicked Stepmother, she's got her own political controversy stuff going on with some of her, outspoken ideals. Some of which I haven't even looked into, to be honest, because I don't care as much. I would like to look at the movie with that eyes. But anyway, so this has been mired in controversy since the beginning. But Disney still plunked down almost $270 million to release this movie. And to be honest, I don't know if it's even going to make that back, because it opened with just $44 million, which is one of the bigger openings of the year. But for a Disney live-action reimagining, it really missed the mark. It's one of their lowest of all time. So that does not bode well for the future of this movie. But let's talk about the movie itself, shall we? I've already mentioned, one of the bright spots here is Rachel Zegler, and one of the negatives perhaps is the dwarves. So let's stick on the positives for now. Rachel Zegler is just great in this movie. She's a wonderful Snow White. We know she can sing because she was in the Hunger Games, what was that called? Songbirds and Snakes or something. But she was singing in that. And then, of course, she really came to our attention on a big scale with the Steven Spielberg version of West Side Story. And, of course, a lot of singing there. But look, it's not only her singing here that is really taking center stage, but her acting. She's just a lovely, beautiful, Snow White, and she's so good in the role. And then Gal Gadot as the stepmother, honestly, I thought she was pretty good. We know her mostly, of course, as Wonder Woman. She's done a few other projects, along the way. She was in like a comedy a few years ago with Zach Galifianakis called, I think that was called Masterminds. Um, and then there was the she was in something a little recently as well. The Red Notice with The Rock and Ryan Reynolds. That was a Netflix exclusive. That was okay. But I think she's a likable person. She's got a good presence on screen. And I think she is doing her own singing here, which, she has one number that they gave her, and I thought she did very well with it. So, that part I don't have an issue with, those two leads. The Prince, I could take or leave him. He's sort of whatever, as he is really in the original, Andrew Burnap. But so let's talk about the negatives here. So I already mentioned the dwarves, so let's kind of stick on that a little bit. So the dwarves are CGI, but they are just sort of ugly looking. They don't really lend anything to the beauty around Snow White. And they didn't even get little people to voice the dwarves. They're voiced by people like Titus Burgess, who you might know from Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, and Jeremy Swift from All Creatures Great and Small, and Andrew Barth Feldman, who's done a few things along the way. So it's like they not only didn't want to cast little people as the dwarves, which I'm not sure why that was, but then they piled on by not even having them voice the dwarves. It's really sort of a mess in that regard. But anyway, back to how they are in the movie. They're ugly. They're not designed well, and they really are a bit distracting. So I hated that part. And then there's the matter of the original is only about an hour long. Famously, it's the first ever feature length animated film. Up until then, feature films were all live action, but the animated stuff was in shorts, 7 to about 14, 15 minutes. And, Disney was making them, Warner Brothers, Fleischer Studios that did the Popeye cartoons and stuff. But Walt was like, no, I've got this vision. Let's do a whole animated movie. We can stretch it out and, throw a couple of songs in there, have interesting characters and some humor, and there you go. And Snow White is regarded as a classic. By most, it's regarded as one of the great animated films of all time. But a lot of those early Disney animateds were only an hour. Dumbo, Pinocchio, Bambi, were all like an hour, hour and 10 minutes. So we're really stretching out the story here quite a bit. This goes to almost an hour and 50 minutes in length. So we're almost doubling that original time, and that means we've got a lot of padding here. First of all, the ending goes about 25 minutes or so, or maybe 20 minutes after where the animated film ends. And that, to me, was actually one of the more interesting parts of the movie, so I don't fault it too much for that. I think we could have maybe wrapped it up a little bit quicker. But for me, the most boring part was the middle. I really, they added like 3 or 4 extra songs. Of course, the original has Whistle While You Work and Hi Ho, Off to Work We Go. So the dwarves do sing that, and there's an extended sort of version of Hi Ho. But they've given us like 3 or 4 other songs. There might be one song in the original that Snow White sings. I can't remember. But in any event, so they've padded a little bit of the time with songs, but the rest of it is plot. And to be honest, it leaves a little bit to be desired. Like I said, that middle section is a bit boring. This was directed by Mark Webb. I do think this is his first Disney feature, but of course he is maybe best known for directing the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movies. He's done some other things, of course, but that maybe his most well-known stuff. And this is obviously in that vein of the big budget Spider-Man movie. So he had a big budget to work with. But I really think this one misses the mark. It's not my least favorite of the live action reimaginings, but that would be Maleficent 2, Mistress of Evil. But look, I went back and looked at my Disney grades for the last couple of years, and excluding Pixar, like Inside Out 2 was really good, and excluding Marvel, I gave positive grades to Deadpool, Wolverine, and Captain America, the new one. But most of the recent Disney movies have been average or below. Moana 2, The Haunted Mansion, there's been a few that just have not been that good. And this is the latest, I think, in that line. I leave Snow White with a C-. minus. It's not the worst of the live actions, like I said, of the remakes, but it's definitely got to be in the bottom three probably for me. I think a lot of missed opportunities here. So, all right, well, you can check it out now in theaters, and I'm sure pretty soon on Disney Plus if you wish. But that will do it for now. Thank you so much for watching Dan Reviews It. I'll see you next time. Bye.